Julia could keep no secrets from her sister Marisol, no matter how much she might have wished she could. Whether it was just Marisol had the supernatural intuition about her sister, or just simply that Julia wore her heart on her sleeve, she could not say. But it was thanks to this Marisol seemed to notice that something was wrong one day in spring. The sisters had spent a long day working on their family farm. Once the crops were all tended and the animals all seen to, the women sat together before a crackling fire as the setting sun said its last good nights to them through the open window. Julia had uncharacteristically been quiet all day, and she had desired to do so. Something about being silent made her feel safer, somehow even more contained, with less risk of releasing something terrible to the world. As a warm glow of the flames danced in their skin, Marisol spoke. "Julia, my dear," she said, "I am worried about you." Julia felt a chill fall over her. Marisol's words, carrying all they were, seemed to have kind of confrontation. "Worried?" she asked. "Why?" "Come now," Marisol said with a kindly smile. "Can you really think that I do not know my own sister? It is unusual for you to be so quiet. You have been today. It can only mean there's something on your mind. Please tell me what it is. I wish to help you." Julia felt a tear wanting to form in her eye and fought it with all she could. "I don't think it's wise, Marisol," she said meekly. "Wise?" Marisol furrowed her brows in confusion. "Why not?" Julia was silent for a moment, but finally compelled to explain. "Because I have seen something that frightens me." A deafening silence overtook the room, disrupted by only the fire's constant cackle. At last, Marisol spoke again. "Sister," she said, "I want you to tell me what you've seen. It will do you good to unburden yourself." Their eyes met. Julia could no longer hold back her tears, allowing them to flow freely. "Marisol," she began, "do you remember that story that grandmother would tell us about the first egg from a white hen?" "Yes," Marisol said, "I remember it. She always said that, if you take its first egg from a white hen and sleep with it under your pillow, you will see the face of your future husband. Of course, I never believed her." "Nor did I," said Julia, "which is why I thought of doing nothing but putting it to the test. Yesterday morning, when I was taking care of the chickens, I noticed that my little white hen was missing. I searched and searched for her, and found her sitting on the coop, protecting its perfectly beautiful egg. It was when first she had her laid, Marisol, that night. I placed the egg beneath my pillow, and—" She fell silent again. Marisol leaned forward into her seat. "And?" she prodded. "I had the most terrifying dream," Julia finally admitted. She was now shaking, and her tears continued to fall. "I dare not to tell you the details, but it's enough to say that I fear some harm may come to you." "To me?" Marisol asked. "Yes." Marisol's expression became distant, as she appeared to be putting the pieces together. "At the hands of—" "Yes," Julia interrupted her. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed. Marisol made numerous attempts to comfort her sister. She repeated her disbelief in the old legend. These things as she did, but to no avail. Julia would not allow herself to be calmed, fearing that the moment would let her guard fall, she would see disaster strike. She was convinced that her dream would be a reality, that she could think of one thing she can do: leave the farm and her sister at once to join the Sisters of St. Delphina and to Notivate. It was the only Julia sitting in one night in her tiny room, in the convenient dressed in her white habit, that she felt any peace. She had begun to think of a white fabric means of protection, a kind of shield that covered every inch of her frame. Not only that, but it served to purify her as well, to remove her from the responsibility of causing her own sister's murder. Yes, she was quite sure she had outsmarted whatever demon that decided that she would be the wife of such a brute as she'd seen in her dream that night in spring. But the thought still made her shudder. She doubted that she could ever forget those dark eyes, or the mishap in the head, or those hands to which they were far too large and murderous. Julia was suddenly pulled from her thoughts by the sound of the convenient bell. Strange, she thought. Never before I have known a visitor to come around at this time of night. At that night, it was her sister Maria's task to mind the door, but Julia could not contain her curiosity. Quietly, she left her room and crept down the hallway towards the top of the stairs. There, she thought, she peered down into the foyer to see who it was that come. She scarcely down the hallway when she heard a blood-curdling screech. It tore the air sharply and died away with a hideous gagging moan. It was Sister Maria. A jolt of fear fire beneath Julia, and she raced to the top of the stairs. There below her was just the beginning of the nightmare. This time, however, she was wide awake. The convenient door was still open. Just inside the foyer stood massive, hulking figure. He was filthy, covered in head to toe in dirt and mud. Everything about him was oversized, but his hands stood out there the most. Julia found herself staring down at the familiar pair of eyes, peering out malformed, hairless head. It was him, the man from her dreams. He had found her. At the man's feet lay the crumpled remains of her sister Maria. The body lay on its stomach, but its face was turned upwards, eyes glazed and tongue protruding slightly. Julia looked at the monster, the body, back again. The last time their eyes met, and the gruesome creature smiled at her, flashing its twisted yellow teeth. It lurched forward, and Julia ran in terror. She never stopped running, not even when she could hear the chorus of screams arise in her wake. Hot tears stung her eyes as she thought of what each scream must meant, of what she had brought into this formerly holy place, now tainted by the hands of the devil. All the while she kept on, turning down corridors she'd never been down before, hoping to lose the beast entirely. She turned down one hallway and thought to spy the door at the very end. When she got there, however, she found that she was mistaken, forcing her to turn back. It was too late. Speeding down the hallway towards her was another young novice. The man was right behind it. It was a sight that she'd seen before. At this very moment it occurred in her dream, the dream that foretold this man's arrival. It suddenly struck how familiar the young nun looked at her own sister. Now her features, softened by the darkness of the dark hallway, could easily be mistaken for Marisol's. Julia knew what was coming. Another voice cried out, "Sister!" Just as she had in Julia's dream, the man was upon her. He grabbed her savagely by the neck and pulled her into him. She struggled and shrieked and lifted her up off the ground. He sank his teeth in deep in the flesh of her neck and viciously tore out a large chunk. She choked and convulsed in his grasp, and he let her fall to the ground with a sickening thud. The last moment was just Julia remembered it. The man's eyes were wild with animal hunger as he stalked towards her, licking his bloody lips. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.